Here we go. I want everybody to see this. And what you're going to hear is a dream from 1937. So that's another number I see in here a lot. But 1937, we're going to listen to 10 minutes of it, okay? Because I want everybody to understand the birth pains that we are seeing today. Now, you've heard of all the earthquakes in Japan. Now you see where America and Venezuela are at each other's neck, ready to go to war. Drug wars. Remember, now this is all set up. Now you're going to hear 10 minutes of it. Pay close attention. You're going to hear where he's going to make mention of Japan, what's happening with the birth pains, earthquakes. But this is going to be massive. It's going to be all over the whole world.
Across the land. I wondered how late it was when I could see the clock. Even though I wasn't there on the boulevard, it was 4:29. It had been half an hour. I was glad I couldn't hear the crying anymore, but I could see everything. Then, like looking at a huge map of the world, I could see what was happening on the land and with people. San Francisco was feeling it, but she was in no way like Hollywood or Los Angeles. I seemed to see it was the garlic fault, not just the San Andreas that was rocking San Francisco. It was moving just like that earthquake movie with Jeanette MacDonald and Clark Gable. I could see all those mountains coming together, the Sierra Nevada, San Andreas, and Garlic. I knew what was going to happen to San Francisco.
Do you remember about 2 weeks ago, I told you I had that dream? And it was a vision, and I seen the mountains moving like a train. I mean, just moved like nonstop, the mountains. That's what he just got through saying.
It was going to turn over, Gable. I could see all those mountains coming together, the Sierra Nevada, San Andreas, and Garlic. I knew what was going to happen to San Francisco. It was going to turn over because of Garlic Fault. It would turn upside down. It went quickly because of the twisting. I guess it seemed much faster than Hollywood, but that I wasn't exactly there. I was a long way off. I shut my eyes for a long time, I guess 10 minutes. And when I opened them, I saw the Grand Canyon. When I looked at the Grand Canyon, the great big gap was closing in. Boulder Dam was being pushed from underneath. And then Nevada, and on up to Reno, way down south to Baja, California. Mexico, too. It looked like some volcano down there was erupting along with everything else. I saw the map of South America, especially Colombia. Another volcanic eruption, shaking violently. Venezuela seemed to be having some kind of volcanic activity. Way off of the distance, I could see Japan on a fault, too. It was so far off, not easy to see because I was still up on Big Bear Mountain, but Japan started to go into the sea. I couldn't tell time then, and the people looked like dolls far away. I could hardly see it. In a minute or two, it seemed over. Everybody was gone. Nobody was left. I didn't know time now. I couldn't see a clock. I tried to see the island of Hawaii. I could just see huge tidal waves beating against it. The people on the streets were getting wet, and they were scared, but I didn't see anybody going into the sea. I seemed way around the globe, more flooding. Is the world going to be drenched? Constantinople, Black Sea rising, Suez Canal for some reason seemed to be drying up. Sicily, she didn't hold. I could see the map, Mount Etna shaking. A lot of this area seemed to go, but it seemed to be earlier or later. I wasn't sure of the time now. In England, huge floods, but no tidal waves. Water everywhere, but no one going in the sea. People were frightened and crying. Some places they fell in the streets on their knees and started to pray for the world. I didn't know the English people were emotional, but Ireland and Scotland, all kind of churches were crowded. It seemed night and day. People were carrying candles, and everybody was crying for California. Nevada, parts of Colorado, maybe all of it, even Utah. Everybody was crying. Most of them didn't even know anybody in California, Nevada, Utah, but they were crying as if they had blood kin, like one family, like it happened to them. New York came into view. She was still there. Nothing had happened, yet water level was way up. Here things were different. People were running in the streets yelling, "End of the world." Kids ran into the restaurants and ate everything they could get their hands on. I saw a shoe store with all the shoes gone in about 5 minutes. Fifth Avenue, everybody running. You see that here what he did is he saw rioting and looting, which you didn't have in 1937. Some radio blasting from a loudspeaker that in a few minutes the power might be put off. They must control themselves. 5 girls were running like mad toward the YWCA, that place on Lexington or somewhere. They ran like they were scared to death. But nothing was happening in New York. I saw an old lady with garbage cans filling them with water. Everybody seemed scared to death. Some people looked dazed. The streets seemed filled with loudspeakers. It wasn't daylight, it was night. I saw like the next day and everything was topsy-turvy. Loudspeakers again, about fuel tanks broken in areas, storage of oil. People seemed to be looting markets. I saw a lot of places that seemed safe and people were not scared, especially the rural areas. Here everything was almost as if nothing had happened. People seemed headed to these places, some on foot, some on cars, but some had run out of fuel. I heard, or somehow I know, but somewhere in the Atlantic, land had come up, a lot of land. I was getting awful tired and I wanted to wake up. I wanted to go back and check on that girl to know where she was and those 2 kids. I found myself back in Hollywood. It was still 4:29. I wasn't up on Big Bear then. I was perched right over Hollywood. I was just there and it seemed perfectly natural in my dream. I could hear now. I could hear someplace a radio station blasting out, telling people not to panic. They were dying in the streets. There were pictures, movies. Some right in Hollywood, they were carrying on with all the shaking. One fellow in the picture was a little short guy who could have been scared to death, but he wasn't. He kept shouting and reading instructions, something about some kind of a plane that hovers overhead that's coming over. 2 things he saw: television, the pictures flashing, and helicopters, which wasn't in 1937. But I knew they couldn't. Things were happening in the atmosphere. The waves were rushing up now, such waves, nightmare waves. Then I saw again Boulder Dam going up, pushing together, breaking apart. No Grand Canyon, it was pushing together. Boulder Dam was breaking apart. It was still daylight. All these radio stations went off at the same time. Boulder Dam had broken.
Maybe it was Hoover
I
Dam.
wondered how everybody would know about people back east. That was when I saw ham radio operators. I saw them in the oddest places, if I were right there with them, like a little guy with glasses that kept sounding an alarm. One kept saying, "This is California, we're going into the sea. This is California, we're going into the sea. Get to the high places, get to the mountains. All states west, this is California, we're going to the, I thought he was going to say sea, but I could see him. He was inland, but the waters had come in. His hand was still clinging to the table. He was going to get up so that once again he could say, "This is California, we're going into the sea." I seemed to hear this over and over for what seemed hours, just those words. They kept it up to the last minute, all of them calling out, "Get to the mountains, this is California, we're going into the sea." I woke up. It didn't seem as if I had been dreaming. I have never been so tired. For a minute or two, I thought it had happened. I wondered about 2 things. I hadn't found out what happened to that girl. I've been thinking about it. I'm going home tomorrow. It was just a dream. There was nothing more. Nobody in the future of Hollywood Boulevard is going to wear earrings and those beards. Nothing like that's ever going to happen. That girl was just so real to me. That girl with those 2 kids. It won't happen, but if it did, how could I tell her? Maybe she isn't even born yet. To move away from California when she has her twins, so she can't be on that boulevard that day. She was so real. The other thing, those ham operators hanging on like that, over and over, saying the same thing. "This is California. We're going into the sea. This is California. We're going into the sea. Get to the mountains. Get to the hilltops. California, Nevada, Colorado, Arizona, Utah. This is California. We're going into the sea. He says, I guess I'll hear that for the rest of my life. Well, it's just a dream. But let me tell you, I think it's going to happen like that someday. I think it's going to happen like that someday. And I want to know, are we going to be somewhere listening?
Now, I want to remind you guys, recently we've heard of untold earthquakes in Japan. And another girl that had dreams where they made comic books out of it, warning about what she's seen happening to Japan. And now Venezuela is arming themselves against America. You know, all these things are happening. You guys, this is what I'm saying. These people spreading Satan's little season. Well, what we're seeing is birth pains. And that's written in the Bible. And these birth pains are when the woman's getting ready to give birth. And it's just before the wrath of God. These birth pains are to wake people up. And that's why they're pushing Satan's little season. It has nothing to do with birth pains. And it's totally taken the Bible out of context, out of what God is revealing to people right now, and they just don't seem to see it. They can't see it because they're not paying attention. A lot of these people, I totally removed a lot of that stuff on that last video because it's just a lot of nonsense. And I'm not going to debate or argue with people that believe the lies. You know, people want to believe they're in Satan's little season, like the resurrection is already past. I'm just going to let them be, because it said if the blind lead the blind, they'll fall into the ditch. And those who follow Jesus Christ, we hear his voice. All right. And there's a lot of that is going on right now, you guys. Be very careful, man, because this is very real. And it's the judgment of God that's happening. That's why you're seeing all these birth pains. What's happening? This is soon going to be over. I'm kind of shutting down in the cabin here, man. I'm ready to, close it down for the day, get this day over. Plus, what was it, a week before last, I had that dream where I seen the mountains. It didn't just move a little bit. They totally shifted. And for something like that to happen, it's going to be just like you heard. This is California. We're going into the ocean. This is California. We're going into the ocean. That's what's going to happen. And there's going to be water rushing in after that. That's why there's that song called I've Got Some Oceanfront Property in Arizona. All these things are going to be coming about, you guys. And many people are going to be following just more lies, deceptions, because they don't understand the times. And there's nothing we can really do about that, because that's just what they're going to do. That's just what they're going to do. What I really liked about what I just got through showing you was how 1937, he specifically stated Japan. And if you look back, Japan is like off the chart with earthquakes all the time. So are those other countries in Italy, Sicily, or whatever. They're earthquakes, volcanic. They're right on top of them. All these things. And these are birth pains. And this is why they're going to try to say Satan's little season. They're going to do anything like man's been on the moon, the hole in the ozone. They're going to be constantly twisting things. And most people are going to follow these people. And there's nothing you can do about it, because Jesus said, my sheep hear my voice. Another they will not follow. We clearly see we're in birth pains, and we know the scriptures according to what we see happening. They don't. Therefore, let them be. If the blind follow the blind, they'll fall into the ditch. Yeah, it's not that we wish it on them. It's just what it's going to be. Some people are just basically, conscience seared. I don't know how to explain it other than they're just not aware. God bless everybody. In Jesus Christ, our Lord.